Greetings, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Human Resources in History. This podcast aims to offer insights from 7,000 years of human history to help modern human resource practices. I am your host, Makoto, a data scientist and journalist.
Hello, I am Jin, your co-host. I am an HR professional and a big history lover.
So, Jin, this is our fourth episode of our podcast. Are you getting used to speaking in front of the microphone?
Not yet.
You know, if you're listening to our podcast since the first episode, you've probably noticed that we've been trying the different kinds of format almost every time. And it's just because, you know, it's the first time for both of us to try recording podcasts, right? We are still figuring out.
You know, we tried, like, sometimes we created the whole script. Sometimes we just, go with the flow.
Yeah, exactly. You know, remember when we were both living in Paris, we were eating and drinking almost every weekend together, and also talking about the history and business. So I think I like this kind of format, like casual conversation style. But the thing is that we don't live in the same city anymore. So we are recording this podcast on remote. So that's a difficulty, right?
That's one thing for sure. But also, I have to be sure what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah. So we have our script on our side, but at the same time, trying to make a conversation as natural and casual as possible. So yeah, we are learning through trial and error to find out what the best podcast format is. And we just hope our listeners will join such a ride with us. So Jin, today we are going to talk about power play. Does appointed power make you strong or ruin your organization? First of all, what is appointed power? Is it like a power to say, hey Jin, you're the leader of this team, or something like that?
Well, yeah, it's something like that. You're not far at all. So appointed power is the authority to appoint someone to a key position. And this is a significant method of attaining power throughout human history, and then actually even in today's corporate environment as well. So this is the brief summary about appointed power.
Okay, sounds interesting. And then what kind of historical examples are we going to talk about? Today,
we are traveling back to the medieval Europe.
Okay.
Now, this is my personal favorite period. But anyway, yeah, we are going back around like 1,000 years ago, because we can find a prime example in the investiture controversy to know more about appointed power. Are you familiar with the investiture controversy?
I mean, to be honest, not so much. I think I read it somewhere. I guess it was a conflict between kings and popes over like some kind of rights to appoint someone, right? But I don't know like what happened exactly.
Yeah, well, you described quite well. It's appoint bishops and abbots. But let me walk you through how this controversy originated and what it is about. The roots of the investiture controversy trace back to the changing dynamics in Europe following the decline of the Western Roman Empire. After Emperor Constantine's Edict of Milan in 313, well, basically this edict is the Constantine adopted Christianity as Roman Empire's main religion, right? And after that, Christianity gained a strong foothold in the Roman Empire. So it was everything looks great. However, the fall of the Western Roman Empire in 476 CE, that is the turning point for the Christian church because they lost its traditional protector, which was Emperor and Western Roman Empire. This void, the lack of the protector, led to new alliances, particularly between the church and the Frankish rulers like Charlemagne. Probably you might have heard about Charlemagne.
Yeah.
He was kind of seeking religious legitimacy for the reign. The church was looking for a protector, and the secular ruler like Charlemagne, he was looking for religious legitimacy.
Okay,
so
I see.
Finally, the church found a powerful ally in the Franks.
So it's a story about relationship between the church and the rulers. So how does this relationship evolve?
In the beginning, it was good, but after the Treaty of Verdun in 843 CE, the Treaty of Verdun is an important treaty that divided the Frankish Empire into three different nations. After that, significant shift occurred. The eastern part of the empire, which is the precursor to the Holy Roman Empire, there kings performed investitures. action to appoint someone to key positions, which was traditionally a church's right. And this led to increased tension because the church viewed this as an infringement on its spiritual authority. And additionally, many clergy members were part of royal families. So this further blurred the lines between the church and state power. So the things gets kind of unfavorable.
Okay. Yeah, there are a lot of characters, peoples, and organizations, countries getting involved, and it's getting, to be honest, a bit confusing. But then to simplify and summarize, kings of the Holy Roman Empire were appointing important positions of the church because they wanted to have a grip and a control over the church. And popes in Rome didn't like it because they thought it was their right to decide who's going to be, for example, bishop.
Yes, it's a very good summary, right? So it's basically the controversy, in other words, conflict between the secular kings and the popes.
So then what happened in the end?
So the situation escalated. This famous event, which I really like, the road to Canossa in 1077. Was a dramatic turning point for this controversy. Now, the King Henry IV of the Holy Roman Empire, after he appointed his own bishops in Milan, he was excommunicated by Pope Gregory VII. So excommunication was kind of big thing back in the Middle Ages. Oh, by the way, there are many Henry IV in European history. You may have heard about the French King Henry IV, the only quatre in French. I'm sure you heard about this king. And then also like Henry IV exists in England as well. They are completely different people.
Oh, really? Oh my God, that's so confusing.
Yeah, that's very confusing. That's the medieval Europe for you.
Oh.
But anyway, so Henry, he faced with the internal rebellion and the threat of deposition because he was excommunicated. If you are excommunicated, you will basically lose your legitimacy or authority. So what Henry did is he made a humbling journey to Canossa, which is in present day in Italy, to seek absolution from the Pope.
Like to seek forgiveness.
Exactly. So that's the power balance has completely been determined. So Henry waited outside the Pope's residence for 3 days in penance before being forgiven by the Pope in the middle of winter for 3 days, also like barefoot and with thin clothes.
Wow, I don't think I would do that.
Yeah,
really, in the middle of the winter.
And I don't even know if it's true. Probably there are some exaggeration, I guess, but who knows? So he waited outside. This event significantly strengthen the church's position, illustrating the power of spiritual authority over secular rulers.
Wow, that's a really interesting story. I didn't expect how the story turned out in the end. But then this kind of relationship between Holy Roman Empire and the popes, isn't it like the relationship between tech giants and the government? These companies are very influential and have a lot of resources, and they offer governments advanced technological tools and infrastructure, and in return the companies often seek like a support from the government and probably do some kind of a lobbying to get favorable regulations to be protected. I find this kind of similarity.
Yeah, I think so. It's that's a good example because both of them need each other. But if the relationship doesn't go well, both of them will lose. It's not good for one side to have enormous power over other either, right? So it's it's a similar situation.
So from this historical events, we are trying to learn some insights that we can apply to a modern business scenes. So how does this compare to the dynamics we see in the modern human resources?
Yeah, this historical parallels emerge and the tensions between HR and business units over HR practices such as talent acquisition or talent management.
Okay.
So the struggle between HR and business over appointive rights, who to assign to the new managers or who they need to hire. This struggle is similar to the historical conflicts between kings and popes, with the same patterns of control and influence in organizational structure. Clear, it's popes and kings. This structure is somewhat similar to HR and business units. Yeah, so let me explain a little bit more. But before that, I want the readers to be reminded of the following disclaimers. First, we are not suggesting that religious institutions should or should not be involved in politics or business.
That's important.
Right? And secondly, we do not intend to encourage business to gain a religious or a spiritual power. Right? So we are not saying it's good or bad. It's just not what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, and we're of course not going to recommend anyone to like stay outside in the winter waiting for someone to arrive for 3 days. That's not a good practice.
Well, unless you love it, but yeah, exactly.
Okay, well, thanks for the disclaimers. Can you then elaborate more on what this modern conflict looks like? So let's say you're leading a business unit responsible for building a strong team and boost financial outcomes. How would you react?
So this example is, let's imagine I'm a business leader opposite to HR. As a business leader of a business unit, so my primary goal is to attract and retain top talent and ensure the success of my team, right?
Yeah.
But this objective sometimes can come into conflict, with HR because they have a broader organizational strategy. For example, when HR proposes transferring one star performer in my team to another department to promote internal mobility or to realize the global talent management strategy whatsoever, it can create a dilemma because my immediate reaction might be hesitation.
Yeah, because you're going to lose one very talented teammate.
Yeah, exactly. Then it might directly lead to the decline of the sales revenue or profit, right? So that is why I don't want to lose a star performer in my team, especially if I don't trust my HR's understanding of my business need and goals. This hesitation will be like even bigger. I really don't want them to jump into here. This is my team. They are my people. When the relationship between HR teams and business units is not going well, this kind of a conflict happens.
Yeah. I think this kind of lack of trust between HR and the business unit is really, really common. Because I hear a lot of relevant things from my friends, but rather than HR proposing transferring someone from your team to another team, more common cases I hear are that HR is resisting to the changes proposed by the business side. Like, for example, one of my friends working in a data science team in a German company wanted to move to R&D department, but HR resisted. They thought it would not be the optimal for the company because it means they would need to hire another data scientist to replace her. There would also be like a certain transitioning time period that would be a loss to the company. I have a couple of friends who wanted to transfer to other offices, but most of them were rejected by HR because of the costs. Or I definitely understand because, HR definitely has broader and more accurate view on the budget and talent allocation.
Yeah.
When I was working in Japan, I actually observed a lot of cases which are the other way around, where HR proposing some changes that business side doesn't want to implement. Jin, you worked in Japanese companies before, so you might probably understand it really well.
Yeah.
HR department in Japanese companies, they have a really strong power, right? For instance, they can tell someone working at the Tokyo office to move to Osaka office from the next month, or really in a short notice.
You don't have any right to say no.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a culture in Japanese corporations. But then if this person has a family in Tokyo, it would affect his or her life a lot. And if this person doesn't like it and leaves the company, they would gain nothing. Anyway, so it's the same thing. One side is looking at the short-term gains, another side looking at the long-term gains. I believe this kind of thing happens a lot everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. 2 examples you listed are, good examples. And the first case, right, the HR resisted because what I understood is that they didn't want to do their job, because if someone's leaving the team and to join another team for their own career development, then HR has to fill the vacant position as soon as possible. That's their job, right? But because they don't want to do that job and they stop this career move, it's not really a good HR practice. In fact, a fair and healthy relationship between HR and business units is not the common thing, right? So that's why you heard about this kind of cases from your friends.
Right.
Many times we've actually heard the same thing over and over. Now, imagine you are an HR business partner and the business manager like me, who didn't want to release any star performer, you'd view my resistance as potentially detrimental to the overall health of your organization.
Oh yeah, I would fire you, definitely.
Well, that HR has a strong power, you can do that. That's probably HR having too much power is also detrimental.
Right.
So, the HR's perspective is broader, and then they focus on cohesive talent management across the entire organization. And so this is a good side of HR, but sometimes because of this, HR wants to retain control over talent decisions, and then they don't want business managers to do their own HR strategy and HR move. They want to control over that. Mm-hmm. Right? So this structure is quite similar to the investiture controversy, right?
It's pretty similar. Mm-hmm. So to overcome this, I would say, tug of war between HR and business units, what do you suggest as a potential solutions for building a stronger relationship between them?
Yeah, so there are actually many things we can do as an HR. It's important to bridge the gap between HR and business units. For example, HR professionals need to develop business acumen to understand the business better. For example, they can try to understand what is the business goal, what the business operations look like, and then try to align with them. Mm-hmm. So to do that, HR can go to the business side or attend the customer's meeting with the sales team or with the marketing team together. Mm-hmm. So for example, if HR attends a client monthly meeting or something like that, they can really better understand the business, right? Mm-hmm. So this direct involvement offers insights into client operations and foster deeper understanding of business needs.
From the client side, doesn't it look a little bit too invasive? What kind of message would you convey to the client in order to convince them that attendance of HR is in the end beneficial to both parties?
Yeah, that concern is absolutely valid for sure, because the business side, they don't want to be bothered, or they don't want to bother clients either, right? So I understand your concern, but think about this. Maybe the sales team can say to the client something like, okay, so to strengthen our service to your business, we would like to propose our HR manager attends the next monthly meeting. This will help us recruit and develop talent that better supports your needs. Something like this.
Okay.
You can, of course, customize that. And then I don't think the client would say no, because basically the business team tries to help the client.
Yeah, that's right.
And maybe they say no because this is very confidential or something like that. In this case, it's probably just no, but they don't feel that the company is too invasive or disrespectful.
That makes sense. If my HR business partner is doing these things, I would like to be very supportive. I would be very happy. Especially if you are a manager, you should have a meeting with your HR partner on a regular basis, every month, for example. And you can discuss challenges your team is facing. I think that would help HR better understand your business. And then on that note, you can discuss, when's the right time to have the HR attend a meeting with the clients.
I think many HRs do, but it can be sometimes very operational, like how many positions they have and they need to fill and etc. But yeah, it has to happen for sure. And also another easy way to understand business for HR people is to attend one of the training programs that business units have to attend, right? So for example, if you are an HR who supports the tech team, and if you attend one of the trainings, like let's say API or enterprise architecture, how to code, stuff like that, and you can understand what they do better, and you can also interact with the people you're supporting. So this is quite a good way to get equipped with useful knowledge. And if it's not possible, you can still go to an online platform like LinkedIn Learning, Udemy, or Coursera, or you name it, right? For that, most of the case, you don't even need a permission from business. You can start from today.
It's like you, Jin, you're an HR professional, but I know that you can also code.
Well, that's I started out of my curiosity, and also I wanted to streamline my data analytics processes, but actually that helped me a lot understand the employees that I'm supporting. So that was very good opportunity for me.
That's great.
And also another solution I'd like to suggest, which is very difficult yet powerful, is to foster cross-functional movements, meaning that moving people from business to HR or HR to business. This cross-functional movements will really foster the culture and strong relationship between these two entities, HR and business.
Okay.
So for example, let's say business manager who worked in an operation team for 15 years, moving this person to an HR team. So this person has strong knowledge about the business, right? With the training of HR practices and labor laws and etc., the person can be really a strong HR advocate, a strong HR manager. So this is one move we can do. And of course, the reverse one, like moving someone from HR to business, which is actually much less common, but it's not impossible. Do you know any major example of the career movement from HR to business?
Well, not at all. Like, it's not common, right?
Actually, there are many cases. And a notable example is Lena Knight. She was an HR manager. I think she was CHRO of Unilever. And she was headhunted as the global CEO of Chanel.
Oh.
Yeah, so this demonstrates potential of such career moves. It's not impossible. And this is an amazing case. And I remember that there was a huge shockwave in the HR communities in late 2021.
That's very impressive and also very unprecedented.
Yeah.
But then I consider myself as a person from the business side. And from my point of view, I'm a bit skeptical about if that solution really works in real life. The solution, what I mean is that the moving HR person from HR team to business team, because, you know, there are a lot of things to do in the business units, not only just managing people. It's just difficult for me to understand how possible it is for the person who doesn't have, for example, sales background to do a sales.
Yeah, so first, in conclusion, it works. But I understand your concern because you probably didn't work in an organization where this kind of move is quite common. So maybe the company you worked for or the companies you know, they can do a little bit more effort in this regard because you haven't seen it in reality, right? But think about it. For example, recruiter, what they do is to understand the business needs and then identify the candidates to build a future business and reach out to the candidates and then accompany them throughout the recruiting process and then get the contract with them. No, so this is almost the same process as salespeople do. So that is why good recruiters are also good at sales and marketing.
There are skills that can be useful in other divisions.
Exactly. The recruiters, they always deal with the people. So most of the case, they have developed great human skills, right? So combining these skills, maybe this recruiter needs a little bit of upskilling or learning about the knowledge of the product and industry, but they have a quite portable skills.
Yeah, I understand. But then I don't know if that solution works for positions requiring technical knowledge, though. For example, data science team. Even though data science could be quite business side, still it requires a lot of technical knowledge in data analytics and modeling. In this kind of case, does your solution work?
Of course, it's not an easy solution, right? So I wouldn't say that it works every time and everywhere. So I understand that some data science teams doesn't want to have a manager who didn't have any experience in that field. And then also data science team requires a lot of knowledge and actual operational experiences. So I would say it's a bit difficult. So this kind of a cross-functional move, especially from HR to business, happen to young, early career professional with less than, let's say, 7-8 years of experience, or senior management that requires, the leadership and strategic thinking and skills. So in the middle management level, yes, I understand that the managers need the clinical skills. So it's not easy. However, some HR people, they develop the really great analytical skills. Some HR managers, they know how to code AI programming, like me. Right? I'm not saying that I can be a manager of big data science team, but some people actually have this technical knowledge. So it depends on the culture and industry and then team's atmosphere. Sometimes it's possible. But it really depends on the case. But as an HR, it's very important to do this effort to implement this culture of collaboration over between business and HR by implementing this cross-functional movement.
Cool. This is what I can say from my experience, but a lot of technical people, as Jin suggested, they don't like to be managed by a non-technical person, right? But then as you said, it's case by case. Some people from HR do have analytical knowledge, technical knowledge. If that's the case, and if you're a professional, you should have a broader mindset and think for the greater goods, I guess. Like having a non-technical manager could bring some new perspective as well in a technical team. So I think that's a very good solution, kind of difficult to implement, but still has a lot of potential.
Yes, I agree.
Well, it looks like we're nearing the end of our time. And the lessons learned today, I guess it was that it's important to understand the power of balance between HR and business. And there are various solutions that you can try to build a stronger relationship between them. I mean, it's 4 degrees in Zagreb today, and my feet are already going crazy numb. I don't want to beg for forgiveness for 3 days in the middle of winter. So let's not forget what happened in the investiture controversy and bring the insights you learned today to your office and to your team. Well, this is where we wrap up today's episode. Stay tuned for more intriguing discussions.